Welcome to Grand Valley Magazine's Community in Motion film and video programs by Western Colorado's talented filmmakers. This series of short films, documentaries, and special programs showcases the dynamic life, landscape, and people of Western Colorado.
I've always looked upon being an artist professionally, kind of like being a rock star professionally. It's not something you get to do. It's impractical, it's impossible, but the older I got, the more I realized that that's true of anything. Anything you want to do, if you set your sights to it, you can do it. And that's the beauty of, where we are in our society. And I don't know that that's possible in every place.
My inspiration as an artist and designer is probably a lifelong thing. It's when I was a kid growing up in upstate New York, we had a close friend, David Smith, abstract sculptor, and he had sculptures all over his property. And I used to run around thinking that, everybody had somebody in town like that,
So you're an entrepreneur instead of an entrepreneur.
Yes.
What made you decide to make art as your business?
Oh, quite by accident. I was in computers and got bored to tears. I was looking for a different profession, and I was quilting and realized I couldn't quilt what was in my head. And that if I did, I wanted to make my own fabric. Because if you go to the fabric store, it's like, oh, please.
Right.
How I got into tattooing, I was incarcerated at a young age, at 18. And when I was incarcerated, I found the freedom in art. So I started drawing and doing patterns. And I had some friends that were tattoo artists. And I picked it up one day from them and just started going from there.
When I started to reach out locally to the art community through my own art, started taking some classes at the art center, started to get involved with the blacksmithing guild, started to reach out to the people that owned 13 Photography at the time. Those were the people I was talking to for photography. I found out that there really is an amazing supportive community in the town.
I do a little bit of everything in the arts, primarily graphic design, representing different needs for different clients, whether it's a photograph for something as simple as a family need or project, all the way up to what a business may need for their promotion or for a product or a service. Everything from signage to advertising design, and a variety of, more specific needs as they come up.
So what is fiber art?
Oh, fiber art is just about anything you want. The technical term is that it is using fiber from an animal or a plant.
Okay.
That is then used either to formulate knitting, weaving. So in other words, it becomes the basis for whatever project you're working on.
So is that what you're going to make here? This is a silk scarf.
Yeah, I'm working, and I would say I'm as much a textile artist as a fiber artist, meaning textiles I'm working on an already formatted fabric. In this case, what I'm going to do is silk painting.
Okay.
And silk painting simply says I stretch out a piece of fabric, silk, and I use actually frames that I make. They're made out of PVC, safety pins, and a little bit of elastic. And that allows me to stretch the fabric, keep it off the surface, so that when I put the colors down, they'll go down in whatever order.
And what are you using?
I use dye. So I use dye rather than a paint because the dye soaks into the fibers itself, looks the same on either side.
Is it a special dye?
Formulated for silk. The dyes that we use accordance to the kind of fiber or fabric we're putting them on. So we'll use one kind of dye for the cottons and the cellulose fibers, others for protein fibers, which would be your hair, or wool or silk. And then I have another set of dyes for the synthetics, which would be for polyester and nylon.
The many artists that I've grew up with, to be able to see somebody draw a picture or a portrait or a flower or a scenery, man, that's amazing. And I was just like lost in the art. When I start drawing, you're in your own world. You create something that most people can't. When someone's lost a loved one and they ask, well, this means so much to me, I want this, and I sit there and I talk to them and I pick their mind, and then I say, well, give them other options on the artwork where I could create something that means so much. When I'm done tattooing them, they just cry.
I like meeting people. I like seeing the color of life. I like seeing the landscape. I like seeing, the small child playing in the water. I like seeing, the intrigue of an elderly person's story in their face, the lines and so forth. I am a work in progress interpreting my art in the Grand Valley. It's, both earning an income as a graphic designer and a photographer, and it's also a means to express and explore other avenues, such as the neighbors here in the Grand Valley, in the Plaza here, with the fiber artists, with the tattoo artists, with the gallery. All these things come together as just an intriguing blend of what I do. It's a never-ending process. My art reflects life as it comes, I guess. It's very spontaneous and random, outside of assignments that people come to me with. It's just very random. I could be turning around in the middle of a grocery store and see something so unique. That's a piece of art, and it's subject to your own interpretation. So to me, art is everywhere, and that's my take on it.
The Plaza here is full of art and artists, and for there to be a gallery just seemed a natural fit. The majority of the artists that show here have shown somewhere else in the past or are showing somewhere else currently locally. Currently, actually, a good portion of the artists that we have in here are artists that I knew outside of the gallery for some reason, and so I was familiar with their work. But yeah, there are a few people that have come in and said, well, I'm interested. I say, what do you have? And then sometimes they'll bring in the actual pieces and we'll look at those together. What I'm looking for is quality of work, and I'm still trying to build a diversity so that I've got many different disciplines represented. For me, really, as long as people are earnestly producing and making good quality work, then I'm interested in showing what they've got.
So where does your inspiration come from?
My brain, which is not necessarily a good thing. I like anything organic. So, except for my dyes, they need to be synthetic.
So anything that comes to me, right? Just
you
go
can
for
follow what's down here or make it up on your own.
When do you incorporate the water in?
Whenever you want. This is a very
And what will that do to it?
Watch and see. Yeah, whenever I have the kids in, they'll spill on the floor. So I just hand them a piece of fabric, silk, and say, okay, mop it up. And
I bet they find that exciting and fun.
Amazing pieces have happened because of the spills.
I deal with a lot of breast cancer patients and women that have had scars on their chest, and they have to feel good about themselves and what they've been through and how they survived. And when I could tattoo over their scars and make their scars disappear, it's wonderful to see how bright their face lights up, how they just get teary-eyed, and how they just think that, wow, that's amazing. And it makes them feel so good about themselves. I remember this one gal, she came in with her daughter, and she asked me what the age limit was for tattoos, and I said, well, they have to be 18, if not have a parent consent. Well, she goes, my daughter is 15 years old, and I want to have her tattoo. And I said, well, that's pretty young. Why would if you don't mind me asking, what are you thinking? What's the tattoo represent? And she goes, well, I lost my husband, and she wants a tattoo of a memorable thing for her dad. And I sat there and I said, okay, what does she want? She wanted the infinity symbol with the date of her dad when he passed in certain colors that represented it. And I did it for her. And when she had it done, they just sat there and they cried, both of them. And that was part of her dad that she had on the rest of her life that she'll remember.
I love music. I love musicians. I love the crazy natural art of the insides of a flower or fog. That's a hard one. That's a very difficult one to say because I have so many favorites. Maybe the lizards, the little collared lizards with their crazy colors and their crazy personalities.
What's the best part about having an art gallery?
Getting to meet the artists and having that interaction, artist to artist. I enjoy getting out in the community and meeting other people. So that's something that I wasn't really searching for when I started a gallery, but it's a natural progression. That's just part of what you do. Grand Junction is a place that is surrounded by natural beauty, and so that's going to call that. The reason that we have so many amazing artists in Grand Junction is because we are surrounded by the natural beauty. There is a community that fosters art and artists, and those two things combine to make this a great place to be a producing artist. If you wanted to commit to being a full-time artist, I think that the number one thing is to commit, and seek out a supportive community. Seek out somebody who can help you learn the ropes as to marketing your work. A lot of times it's real important just to get your work out, and so seek out alternative avenues for doing that. Try and find, it may sound cliche, but try and find a coffee shop that's willing to put your work up. Get it in front of as many eyes as you can. Don't be afraid to take whatever opportunities come your way, because you never know what one opportunity will lead to. Let's see, I think that the biggest obstacles for having an art gallery is connecting with the art buying public, and I think the reason for that is because there are already quite a few very well established galleries, and so they have a clientele, and it's not always easy to get their attention. Locally, we have the Art Center, which does a great job of reaching a community of patrons and of supporters, and so they have a very good following, and a lot of the people I think that go there know that you don't necessarily have to go farther and wider to get into the art community. So that has been, as much as anything, that's been my struggle, is trying to actually reach out to the people that are actually inclined to buy artwork.
So now what happens if you feel like you filled the canvas?
Then you
what?
put your die down.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put this in your hand.
Okay.
And I want you to sprinkle it around.
Just anywhere on the...
Throw it on.
All right.
And just because...
Do you cover the whole canvas?
You can, or little bits of it.
Okay.
And for me, it's, if this is your scarf, you get to do whatever you want, which is what happens anywhere. But I, for one, like all my edges done. But the best part is just because you've gotten all of the color on and there's no white, that doesn't mean it's done.
All right.
Okay, so there is all levels of things I can do with this. And if you come take one of my classes, you get to start fresh, we teach you all the little tools to use, and then you get to play. And we've had children as young as 4 in with their parents painting. But what you need to do is watch. And as it dries, it changes shape and form. So you see all these lines begin to build.
Right.
See what the salt is doing. It's starting
I see
to
that.
show. And I can just and the best part is if I lift it, it's going to drip. And so it drips, but you can see the colors just by nature of looking through the light
Yes.
at the silk.
It's like a beautiful piece of stained glass.
It is.
It's just
yeah,
and unique, completely unique.
It's also instant gratification.
Yes.
But
why do you choose to make art here in the Grand Valley?
it was actually that was also by accident. Why here? I don't know. It just felt good, and it has all the red rock in it. I love red rock in desert areas. So anyway, and then it all reflects in what I do.
What is it about this particular art that keeps you returning to it?
It is because no matter what, it's color, it's silk, and you can't go wrong. You know, it's when there's a bad day and things aren't going right, all you have to do is come paint. And it doesn't care that you don't know how to draw. It doesn't care anything other that you like color and that you're willing to watch it flow down onto the fabric.
And I would imagine it's a different experience every time.
Every time.
Every time.
And I'm good enough now that maybe I want to control where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't control where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at the fabric, I have to see what the colors are, and then I have to work off of it. So it has to talk to me. It has to be that dialogue. When the dialogue stops, then I don't like it anymore. And it's never stopped.
Look at all the different patterns that have been created by the salt on there.
And look at two different pieces here. Now you have one end. The other thing I like about it is there's nothing symmetrical about it.
I opened a shop called Native Ink. I wanted it to be more of who I am, not where I've been, of what I'm about. And my spirituality has been the base for my balance out here to cope with everything, to balance everything out, and to pretty much my ground, my base for everything. And how spiritual I got was after I started teaching the Lakota ways, and I'm Navajo, I'm Dene I go to the reservation on the Four Corners. I go out there and sweat with my people, do different kinds of ceremonies. I was gifted, and I'm a pipe carrier. That means a pipe carrier is, I've learned the ceremonies, and they have asked me to carry a family pipe where I pray for people, and I go I'm capable of being knowledgeable to go hold pipe ceremonies, sweat lodge ceremonies. So it's a very big honor to be a different tribe and carry a pipe for another tribe. From me being native and everything that I am, that's my love. That's what kept me pushing forward and saying, with my spirituality, the more I grow, the more I do good. Without a spirituality or having some kind of belief, then I notice people get unbalanced, they get sidetracked, they start getting in trouble. And by having Native Ink, I've got to help a lot of natives too that come out from the penitentiary, and they hear of it and they come and they talk to me, and then I get to give them advice and kind of even help them. And some don't make it, some go back, but at least if one does good and changes his life, and I show them, look, if I could do 16 years in prison and get out and open a shop when it's a depression, when they say, you know what, there's no way your business is going to make it. Right now is not the time to have a business. And I thought about that for a long time. For the 3 years, I kept seeing it get worse and worse. And I finally said, you know what, if I don't try, then how will I ever know?
What is it about your particular artistry that keeps you coming back to it?
It's an adventure. Once again, I like to be outside. And I keep coming back to the type of art I do because it's comfortable, it's exciting, and there are no rules. I'm a bit of a rebel.
If you want to make it as an independent artist, you have to sell your work. You have to figure out how to get that into the hands of somebody who needs it. There are a lot of businesses in town that require artwork for whatever reason. Some of them are interior designers, for instance, that are actually trying to sell a package, a design package to a client, and in order to complete that package, they need artwork to accent whatever it may be. And so trying to get a hold of people who need that work professionally is something that artists should be trying to do, and that's something that we're trying to do here at the gallery as well, is to establish relationships with different design firms. And then anytime a new building goes up, there's a need for artwork to go on the walls, in the hallways, in the offices, in the reception rooms, all those types of areas. And so that's another thing that we're doing here, is we're reaching out to the different local, not just the builders, but the actual purveyors of the buildings, and saying, hey, we've got good quality local artwork here that we'd love to hang on your walls.
Is there any rules or standards when it comes to displaying, art? Now, obviously this is wearable, but you have other pieces that, are wall hung or what have you. Is there any rules to that?
No, well, I don't know. The rules are, what show are you going to and what are their rules and what do you have to match to get to them? My rules are that I try not to show work that I've done before, and that's actually a rule you're not supposed to, but sometimes when you make a garment for the runway, you see it for 30 seconds, maybe. And so it might be 6 months worth of work,
And you only see
and you see it for 30 seconds. And so you want that garment to walk as many times as possible. Well, for example, we did one here at the Art Center. And at the Art Center, this was the first time they'd had one. And it was definitely the first time they'd had the kind of art show or fashion show, which is where I had my garments, which are velvet. They're very ornate, if you will. I call them on the edge of unwearable. They're wearable, but mostly unwearable, that nobody would wear them. Then there's my friend Sally, who is also a fiber artist, and she did corsets. Okay, so very different kind of work. And then Amy, who did a dress out of telephone books.
Oh my gosh, that's very interesting.
She did Marie Antoinette is Talking, and it's all, the entire gown for Marie Antoinette was made out of the telephone books. And she actually did a garment that was made out of the GV magazines. And so...
Well, that's exciting.
Yes, so she did her little son's shirt and a skirt. And so what do they look for when they see it? You want excitement, you want newness.
Originality, I would imagine.
Originality. I've been to fashion shows that, you might have it from a regular department store. So you have the jeans and the t-shirts. And I tell you, I've been to them, but I would never participate in them. I wouldn't know how to participate in that one. Is that what I look for? Is I look for those really avant-garde, interesting people are creating garments that are just outlandish.
Yes.
They're one of a kind. They're not reproductions, and it's hellish amount of fun.
How my art reflects life, I think it opens people's eyes where they didn't know the stuff that they know now. When they could see a picture of my past or my ways of being Native American, it opens the question of, I never knew that. I never seen that before. And it's a good icebreaker for people to ask who I am and where I come from, and you become really good friends with people.
The most exciting project has probably been working with the Legends Historic Sculpture Project. It's been a great way, as a relatively newcomer to the Valley, 11 years, to get a little flavor of the history of the area, but also to bring back some of these relevant stories of various people as they're, as they relate to even today, how they made to, the Valley what it is today. That's been fascinating, and I do all the creative as far as putting invitations together, ads together, and that type of thing.
I think one of the things that I'm trying to do differently here is to actually get out and work with multiple different designers and different offices and real estate agents and those kinds of things because they're going to need artwork. Some of them will need it on a rotating basis, and then Some of them will want to buy stuff permanently, and I'm all about trying to make sure that the work gets out there and that it's good stuff that you're going to enjoy. That's one of the things I'm definitely doing that's a bit different, is the subscription service to changing your art, if you will.
So what's the next step?
The next step is making sure that it's what, is it where you want it to be? This is pretty much what it's going to be like when it's done.
Okay.
Now, the first stage, and with dyes you always do this, is you have to have a fixing agent. You have to have some way to set the dyes and so that the fabric holds the color, and you can wear it and your dye.
Right, and it doesn't come off on my
Right,
other clothing.
right.
Okay.
And so what I do is I ask everybody coming to class is to leave their scarves with me, and then I put them into a steamer, and I basically cook them for
Okay.
about an hour. And the heat is what sets these dyes into the fiber, so that they're then rinsed out and hand rinsed, and then there you go, they're done.
Within the 5 years I've been out this time, I don't owe the state nothing. I've just run my business, and I do my business, I do ceremonies, and just trying to live life, and really know what life's really about now, because being that young and dumb and getting involved, when you're on drugs, you don't have a life. Everything's fake, everything's a lie, and you just do it to pass the pain that you hold inside for whatever reasons or whatever things you're hiding. I've done pretty much 16 years. I'm 41 years old. That's pretty much a lot of life to give.
A lot of it, I'd really like to see North Avenue itself turn around. I think that there are a lot of people that believe that North Avenue's time has come. We're ready to go ahead and change that view that a lot of people have taken of North Avenue, and to kind of revitalize the space. And what I'd really like to see here is I'd really like to see this become a destination for people who are looking for art and artists, not just with the gallery, but with the entire plaza. And I think that we're well on our way to that. I think it's really encouraging, and it's really neat to be able to work with all these neighbors that we have. They're a lot of talented people.